Ricky and Lucy.
So we thought while we were here at the Cradle of Forestry, it might be kind of fun, since we're with all these other volunteers, to interview some of the long-time full-timers, kind of get their perspective on different opinions, pros and cons, and things like that. So that's what this video is going to be about. We're going to interview 3 different couples and share all of the information that they shared with us with you. Right, Vicki?
Yes, there's a lot to learn from them. They're experienced, interesting, and they're kind of our mentors since we're brand new at this.
Yeah, and we've already actually filmed 2 of the couples, and then we were just on a walk and we were talking about some things we wish we would have included with them. So, and one of those being, if you are considering going full-time, the option of being a camp host or a volunteer really opens a lot of doors for people in the way of saving money, because like Vicki and I were talking, it's probably on average you're going to pay $50 a night for full hookups in a campground, and by volunteering or camp hosting you get your full hookups in your site for free,
and sometimes a lot of other amenities.
Yeah, sometimes even more, like firewood and laundry and just all kinds of different things that really add up. So that is a nice way to sort of offset the travel expenses of your fuel costs and maintenance and things like that on your RV. You'll see Jim and Sally coming up here in a little bit, and they brought up a good point. Or they try to travel for 6 months and then camp host, stop and stay for 6 months. So it kind of breaks it up and helps with those expenses. So something important to keep in mind, that you don't, when you're full time, you don't always you don't have to keep moving and going and paying for the cost of staying somewhere.
So that, along with boondocking, which is free camping but no water, electricity, or sewer, of course. Harvest hosting, staying at those places. Also,
yeah, Army Corps of Engineers.
There's a lot cheaper than an RV resort.
State parks, and one of the cool things is, so we met 2 couples here in the last 5 weeks that were volunteers out in Cape Perpetua on the Oregon coast. They loved it so much they spent 5 summers out there at the same place. They kept going back because they said it was so wonderful. So they piqued our interest. They gave us the contact information, and lo and behold, we applied and we have been accepted. Next summer, from May to Labor Day, we will be at Cape Perpetua in I forget the name of the forest. It starts with an S, but it's right on the ocean, Pacific Ocean, and the Oregon coast, and they said it's just beautiful. So kind of cool things like that. You really get to meet other people, other experiences, and they kind of hook you up then with the right contacts and the right people to explore things and opportunities that they have done. So it's just great.
And Sandy and Tony, who will be our last interview that we're doing tonight when they get off of work, are also going to be camp hosting with us out there. So we'll already know a couple, so that makes it fun.
Yeah,
too.
That's right. Yeah, Sandy and Tony. And we worked with Sandy and Tony here at the Cradle of Forestry 2 years ago. They just happened to be back here again this year. So we worked with them again in the last 5 weeks this year. And now all 4 of us will be traveling to the Oregon coast to work together at the visitor center there. So just super fun stuff. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. We appreciate you watching our videos and supporting our channel. Have a great day. Go.
Welcome back to the Cradle of Forestry. These are our besties here at the Cradle, where we volunteer camp host, and we did it with them in 2021, and we're lucky enough to come back this year, just for 5 weeks though. And having just gone full-time ourselves, we wanted to interview couples who've been full-time for a while and find out the pros and cons. So this is Glenda, Gray Anderson.
Hey, how are you?
and Bart,
Hello.
Bart Anderson, and they're crazy. So I'm going to ask, how long have you been full-timers?
Almost 5 years.
And before that, you were in Florida?
Florida, Fort Myers.
Fort Myers. What made you want to go full-time?
Well, we hardly ever stayed at our house when we were there, and it was too darn hot in Southwest Florida, so we decided to take the leap.
Alrighty. So, where have you all gone since you've been full-time, besides here in North Carolina?
Well, we worked in Maine 1 year. We worked down in Brunswick, Georgia one winter. We have worked in Lake Toxaway up here in North Carolina. And then we've spent the last 5 years here at the Cradle of Forestry.
And Illinois.
Oh, I forgot about Illinois. Springfield, Illinois.
And then where do you winter when this is closed?
We go down to Panacea, Florida. It's on the coast, the forgotten coast of Florida. My daughter has a place in Tallahassee, and she has a big beach condo down in Panacea. So we go down there and spend the winter in a little campground down there.
So then you have your kids and grandkids around? And
Yeah.
All right. All right. What are the pros of being full-timers?
Well, you don't have any property insurance to pay. That's one big pro. You're mobile, that if you need to go somewhere, you can go somewhere in it. If you run into bad weather, such as hurricanes, you can evacuate easy in the RV, and all your stuff is right there in the RV.
Right with you, all your books.
All her books,
All your plants.
all my plants.
He grows beautiful herbs, all kinds, dozens of them, and they're blooming, and mine are dying, so I hand them over to Bart, even though I worked in a garden center. Sorry, Ginger. Okay, and what are the cons of being full-timers?
You don't have a lot of room. You don't have any place to be your own. You have to share. And luckily, I'm a night owl and he's an early morning person, so at least we have some time. But storage is a big problem with that. Just trying, especially when you're full-time. And sometimes, like up here at the Cradle, we have to plan for 3 seasons, spring, summer, and fall. And so that, becomes a problem when you have to store clothes and things of that nature.
So you do have storage units
Yeah.
elsewhere,
A couple of them.
and then you can switch things out for seasons
Right,
and that type of thing. Okay, what is your domicile?
This is our domicile. Where we're actually Florida residents still.
Okay.
We have a place at my daughter's house in Tallahassee that we declare as our home, and so we keep our Florida residency that way. But our domicile is where this RV goes.
A new backyard. Alrighty. Well, thank you.
Any
both so
any
much.
advice you'd have for people thinking about trying or maybe going full time?
Yes. Buy the biggest RV or fifth wheel that you can afford, because you'll end up expanding, getting a bigger one. So buy the biggest one you can afford.
And words of wisdom on how to stay married. How long have you two been married?
Almost 55 years.
Wow, congratulations. And how do you keep that marriage in a small 300 square foot RV? Or do you want to kill Bart sometimes?
Well, I've threatened to smother him several times, so.
And now we have that on record.
And luckily, I've got a little switch on the side of my head that I can turn it off and not listening to her. So
You gotta love it.
By the way, Bart and I have a band called the Cradle Robbers, which we should have recorded some music and posted it on the
we should've
YouTube
done
channel. I
that. We
never
didn't
thought of
think
it. We
about
might have
that.
to put that together.
Whispering in my ear, and it's getting kind of hard for me to do the right thing here. I want to do the right thing, baby.
Put that together.
Since we
All
had
right,
our last
well-
hootenanny last night, and now we got to get to the winery. So
Now we're
see
taking
ya.
off today for the winery.
I
Yeah.
do want to say one thing about the pros of being retired and traveling and full time is that you meet the most wonderful people along
Right,
the way.
that is true.
You start totally new friendships, and everywhere we've gone, we've stayed in contact with somebody from that campground. And repeat people, especially here at the Cradle, have just been wonderful. And I have to say that full-time RVers and volunteers, they're always there to help each other, no
Right.
matter what's going on. So you have a whole new community of friends.
Great point, Glenda. As kind of, that's how we met, and now we've become really close and good friends. And we look forward to seeing you guys down in Panacea this summer or winter. And thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and ideas. And have a great day.
Hello,
Vicki?
and welcome back to Rolling with the Roche'z. Today we have our dear, sweet neighbors who host right next door to our Airstream, Sally and Jim Schweitzer, and of course, Bella Mia. She is the star of the show today, and
She
we
is
sure
a campground
enjoyed
dog.
having her. She is everybody's dog, so she's very spoiled, but very well-mannered and a good girl. So, we're on the part where we're discussing going full-time, and these folks have been going how long?
14 years.
Wow.
14 wonderful years.
And what made you decide to do that?
Well, a gentleman by the name of Warren Buffett closed the last plant I was working at, and we retired 3 times till we got it right. So at that point, we decided to stay out and see some of the world. So primarily the U.S., I should say.
Good for
But
you.
yeah.
How did your kids and grandkids feel about that?
They're still not sure after 14 years. But you know, they always come to visit us, and we spend November and December with them. So, you know, they know we'll be around. Maybe not year round, but off and on we show up.
And just in the short 5 weeks we've been here with them, they have gone to several of the functions, and
Yeah.
we got to babysit Bella while they went back and forth. So, what are some of the pros of full-timing?
Well, okay. The some of the pros, there's a lot of them actually. Okay, one, it's interesting as you travel the country, you end up with friends like yourselves who we never had the opportunity to meet and become friends with. So you end up with friends all over the country.
With like interests.
Yep, with like interests.
Mhm.
And everybody has a story that's very interesting in most cases, if nothing else, just their background. You get to see a lot of places and things that you wouldn't normally see, and you get to stay there to actually enjoy it, as opposed to pick up and just move every week or so or every couple of days.
And every community has its own culture. We found this traveling all around the country. And you don't go there for 1 or 2 days and say, well, yeah, I visited there.
Right.
We go for up to a year. We only did
Wow.
that one time, stay for a year, because we got to go.
So do you always do full-time camp host, or sometimes do you just go and travel?
Well, 95% of the time is travel and host.
And
Yeah.
host?
Yeah.
And as far as volunteering, we started out doing it year round, and then we said, that's a little bit much. We like to goof off too. And so we basically volunteer half a year, and then we spend a couple months around our kids, and then a couple months with friends we kind of gathered down in Alabama.
So a perfect
For the
mix
winter.
of it all. Okay. So are there any cons to full-timing?
Yes, there are. When you come to medical and doctors, you're constantly trying to find a doctor in this specialty, and in our case, it's always worked out beautifully. But that is a definite con,
Okay.
because you can't always get back to what you considered your home base.
And the other part is you have to figure out what to do about mail, insurance, and insurance is a biggie if you're not able to get Medicare, or can be, I should say. It's going to be expensive.
Right.
There's you got to set up voting, and then one of the things, of course, your driver's license, your registration, those kinds of things. But then you got to figure out what to do with your stuff. You haven't gotten rid of everything, but you still, and we've been paying for a rental, heated and cooled and air conditioned
Storage
for
unit.
many years. Okay,
Oh, boy.
and so you got to work all that out. Yeah, money.
Right? Your stuff. All right. So, any advice to others considering going full time?
Try it and do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have no regrets. Sometimes you say you got to be kidding, okay, but and don't think it's cheaper, because it's not. Maintaining a camper that's on the road and traveling is just like owning a house, only you're dragging it around, through an earthquake.
Was it emotional for you when you sold your sticks and bricks home and leaving your friends and neighborhood? Was that a tough decision, or was it pretty easy?
I like a new adventure. I looked at it as an adventure. Do I miss my neighborhood? Yes, I do. But we're still in contact with the people there, and maybe one day we'll be back. 14 years, we're soon going to have to start thinking about maybe coming off the road, but we're not ready yet.
Well, then you'll be ready to empty your storage unit.
Yeah.
The one
That's
you
right.
paid. But that's not for a long time, because you're young kids. Now, you've done some pretty interesting volunteer places. How about I think it was 6 months you spent on the island?
We were on Sapelo Island off the coast of Georgia. It's an old R.J. Reynolds mansion. The first time we were there for a year.
A year it was, wow.
And after a couple years, the place kind of gets in your soul. And we went back for another 6 months. They needed to take our camper out on the barge. There's no stores, no restaurants, but you can go and walk on the beach on the ocean for 5 miles, and 98% of the time you're the only person there.
We're going to have to check that one out, honey.
You and God can have some amazing conversations up there.
Come to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that seems like this place. There's some magic about it that
Yes.
people. It's your second season returning, but they seem to do it for a long time, and then they eventually buy
back.
some land here or build. So
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of that going on in
Yeah.
western North Carolina.
When you come into the mountains over in western North Carolina, it almost feels like home. It's just so serene, and so yeah, we really like this. Been a lot of places. You asked about what we enjoyed. Petroglyphs, cliff dwellings, missile silos, things I never thought I would have seen. It's
Herds of buffalo
Yeah,
in the middle
herds
of the
of buffalo.
road, and you wait an hour so you can get through.
Yeah,
Traffic jam.
yeah. So.
Yeah.
Actually, that came into your campsite out in
Custer
Custer
State Park in
and
South
I have
Dakota.
I have the horn marks on the side of my camper to show.
Wow.
Where they were eating the grass underneath and rubbed the side of the camper.
So those are scars you're proud of. You don't
Oh,
want.
yes.
You'd get mad if any human did that, any accident, but
That's
not
right.
that.
Yeah.
Aw.
So-
Well, we're gonna miss you guys. It's been a
We're gonna miss you
Oh,
folks as well.
It's been great. We need to keep in touch.
yes.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we'll camp host together again somewhere.
Down the
never
road
know.
somewhere.
Now,
All right, we are with Sandy and Tony, fellow volunteers here at the Cradle of Forestry, who we worked with 2 years ago, and now we're back this time with you again. And we recorded a little bit earlier, kind of the lead into the video, and we told everybody that we're going to be with you at Cape Perpetuous in
Good, the bounty
summer of
hunters can
next-
track me down really easy
there,
now.
yeah, right.
good
All right.
times and charm.
Anyway, so how long have you been full time?
We have been full time for 3 years now.
Okay.
3 years and a couple of
Little,
months.
yeah, little over.
And what made you take the plunge into full-time RVing?
Well, earlier in our lives, we did some travel in Europe and a number of cruises and not cruises, and we decided that now we wanted to stay in the U.S. and see more of it other than airports, which we had done a lot of in our jobs when we traveled. So we talked about it, and we said, why don't we just sell the house, because we didn't want to have to put up with the house trying to keep it the grass cut, making sure everything's good with our septic, our well, and so forth, because it got a little chilly where we were, and we just didn't want to have to deal with that. So that's why we went full time.
Good point.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think needed some diversity in our lives. You know, different people, different places, different environment, and you know, it was during COVID, and it wasn't the best time to go travel, but in a way, it was the best time to go travel.
Yeah.
And so we just took it, and we haven't really been disappointed in that aspect at all.
So, thinking about pros and cons of being full time and living in a small RV or a small space like that, what are like some of the pros, do you think?
Well, I think the pros come as much with volunteering, doing work camping, as just being full-time, because we meet so many wonderful people and develop friendships. So that's a big pro, but that is not just living, like I said, not just living in the RV, but the style of life that we chose to do. Seeing new places, seeing them more in depth than we could otherwise. If we do travel, we've got everything with us. We don't have to pack and unpack and so forth. So we like that aspect of it.
I like being portable, but at the same time, this is not camping. You know, people should understand full-time RVing is not like eternal camping. You're maintaining a household. You're usually in the same place for 4 to possibly 6 months, depending on what what you've agreed to. And you know, I like the compact space of our RV, which is not small. So ours is 41 foot, so it's got a sufficient amount of space for 2 people and a small dog. And as soon as we get a small dog, we'll test that out. But we have a large dog, a sort of large dog. But I think the biggest pro is the fact that wherever I am, everything inside that RV is familiar to us. We know where it is, put our hands on it.
Maybe.
And we've pretty much, after this amount of time, got all the stuff that we need. Not to say all the stuff we want, but even so, there's a weight limit on these things. But we've got plenty of storage. Yeah, it's just it's just home. I mean, we know where home is.
Most people do.
And it
if they're
follows you
lucky.
down the highway.
Yeah, it follows me down
If
the
we're
highway.
lucky,
Yeah.
we've
It
had an
confuses-
occurrence where it didn't.
It confuses our dog because we open the door and she goes, "Oh, house is the same.
But the
The
yard
world's
is different.
changed."
So what are some of the cons that you think, or some of the negative parts?
I think the cons are just there's a good bit of maintenance. You're not going to escape maintenance moving from a house to an RV. Different kind of maintenance, but nonetheless, things are going to break and you're going to have to get them fixed. And some of them can be expensive, just like a house. And you need to keep up with the maintenance and things like that, like a regular house. The biggest con that I can see is really not so much living in the RV, is that you have to pull this monster to wherever your next station is, and that can be fun, but it's work. I mean, it's not a camper trailer. It's not rigged to be a camper trailer, so it's a house trailer more or less. So, A caravan, I think they call it in Europe.
Yeah.
No, it's bigger than a caravan.
Bigger than a caravan, okay.
And how often do you camp host volunteer as opposed to traveling in it?
That's interesting. We travel in the shoulder months, mostly. What they call the shoulder months. The fall, or late summer, the spring, or maybe late winter even. So we're going to be, in a given year, we're going to be in 2 places primarily. Everything else is on the way there. So if we're camping, then generally sometimes we'll stay for a week or maybe 2 weeks. If we're visiting somebody, or if there's something like Washington D.C. we really want to go spend time in. But mostly it's just 1 or 2 nights and roll on till you get to where you're going. But yeah, we probably spend 10 months a year volunteering. So 10 months a year we're in a fixed location. That's 2 fixed locations. And then in between we're moving here to there.
So if there's someone out there watching this and they're sitting on the fence and they have a sticks and bricks home and they're thinking about selling their home and buying this RV and hitting the road, any advice?
Well, there are a few more cons than what he mentioned. Especially as you start aging, it's difficult in many places to find doctors and so forth. We were in a town in Maine last year, and I had a couple of issues, and you couldn't see a doctor. You would have to wait 3 months or more to get in to see a doctor, and if you went to a walk-in clinic, that was for minor things. Usually if it was something major, I had one tell me, I really just can't do anything for you, So I think that's an issue, not having your regular health providers. And dentists, again, it's hard to get in to see dentists now. And yes, you have to change hairdressers everywhere you go, which is a chancy thing. And then the space thing can be an issue. Even in 1 hour size, you still hit your shoulder or your elbow or run into a drawer that's open or something like that. So, those can be aggravating. They're not showstoppers, but it gets on your nerves sometimes more than other times. But I think those are the other thing is that if you live in it and it needs a major repair where it has to go into a shop, you've got to find an alternative. Fortunately, the times that we've had to turn it in, we've been close to our kids, so we had a place to stay, but that might not always be the case, and could be an issue that you need to think about. What are your backup plans should you have to turn it into a repair shop for an extended period of time?
Motel 6.
We'll keep the light on for you.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you,
What
guys.
was the question that you had that started that conversation?
Any advice for someone that might be sitting on the fence thinking about selling their home and going full time?
Yeah, my only advice is you can't serve 2 masters. I don't believe you can. The RV is just like a home, and it's going to demand of you all the things that a home or a house demands of you, maybe in a different way, but nonetheless. And if you've got something back there, that needs maintenance, well pump or what have you, or just tending to, that means you're going to go back there. And 9 times out of 10, unless you're fortunate enough to have family or friends that you can lean on to do that sort of thing, but I think that would be imposing. So you need to make up your mind which way you want to go. If you're just vacationing, then you can keep the RV in the house, because you can always park the RV and go back to the house and not worry about it. But if you're going to live in your RV, then you need to commit to doing that. And to her point, space, it's like a boat. You've got bulkheads and heads and decks and and cabinetry that's all snugged in and tried to be made efficient, but you've got to be sensitive to where you are. We're always banging our head on a cabinet door or something like that, so it gets rough in that context. But I did a lot of that at home too. So
Well, I think also it depends on what your threshold of adventure is, because if you go full time expecting to save money, you're not going to.
no.
Especially if you have a larger rig where you can't just pull it in anywhere. You can't stop at Harvest Host for any length of time or something like that. So don't let the daily living expenses be a criteria for you, because it's probably not going to happen. It's expensive to buy gas or diesel, and just other expenses, how much you eat out, those things, and all they roll up into that. So I just wouldn't use that as a criterion. I would just take that out of the picture and just determine whether you want the adventure of being in different places a lot, and if you do, then it may be for you. But
I'll add one more thing. You need to make sure that you got good insurance.
yeah.
Don't go out there thinking you just need RV insurance, or you need to do research on what is the most appropriate insurance for your lifestyle and for your
the type of
and for your rig, a truck and RV or Class A or what have you, because things happen, and everybody's had it at one point in time, and if you've got the insurance, and things usually get put back together where they should. But a lot of people I know with campers, they say, I just get the minimums. Don't get the minimums.
Yeah, good point. You got it. Yeah, because that's your home, and
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
if you
Would
lose
you do that with
you're-
your home?
You're homeless, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it with
Really?
your home.
That-
Well, thank you, Sandy. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Tony.
Hope it helps somebody.
Yeah, we
job.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.